Welcome to the Foil Life Podcast, where we talk about foiling and the lifestyles of those who enjoy these great sports. Well, Mr. Dave West.
Thanks for having me back.
Yeah,
let's start. We need to start here. So after I copped so much shit from coming on your show because I disparaged winging, and the amount of people. So I then went winging one day, and the amount of people that were like, "Oh, you don't like winging," and it was almost like I wasn't allowed to go winging because I had said that I don't like winging publicly at some point. So yes, people obviously listen, and they obviously take it very seriously. And yes, so your audience can get no.
All right, folks. Show's over.
No.
Well, yeah, like with our rebrand to Foil Life, now we're allowed to say that we like more than just foiling.
That's right. I like it.
I'm not sure about that paddle stuff though, but anyways.
Well, for Parawing, obviously, I'm keen to talk to you about the Parawing because you've used it more than I have, because all I've used it is on the beach so far. So you can tell me what's the deal with the Parawing. Welcome to the Foil Live Podcast with Dave West. We've got Luke here, special guest.
So a big thank you to Ensis for sending that thing out for us to give some testing and also just to get our thoughts and feedback on it. First impressions, I didn't know anything about it. I assumed it was going to be like a kite where you flew it the bar horizontal, but this bar does fly vertical. Put my hand here. The nice thing about the Ensis is it is color coded, so the blue goes on top, and all you do is you literally just kind of hold the blue and it kind of flies up. First impressions on the water, it took me a day or two to like relax my shoulders, relax my elbows, relax my wrists, because it's the same thing when you get into winging and people are super tense and they're more pulling the object towards them rather than themselves getting pulled. The nice thing about it is you can hook in, you can hook out, you can do all those kind of things. You can go upwind with this thing and have a pretty decent time. Obviously, it's still two-line, right, in its essence. So you do have to edge upwind a little bit more aggressively if you don't want to get overpowered in some situations. But I think everybody understands that. So it's more so it's nice to not have a wing in your face when you're going downwind, which is the most fun aspect of this thing. Like yesterday, I was just doing these short mini downwinders, maybe, I don't know, 500 meters. And I would zip upwind, go down, zip upwind. And it was a super fun kite session.
It is a lot like flying a kite. That's what I immediately noticed, which it became very intuitive very quickly. I've got the flow, the D wing. And by the way, why are they all like analogies to a penis? The D wing, the Roger. What's the other one? The only one that isn't is the BRM, I think. There's another brand. And they're all like phalanx, not phalanx. What's it called? What's the other name for a penis? Fella.
Please hold. Let's look at
it. Please hold while we Google medical name for penis.
But there's I didn't know that, right? Because we're Canada, we're proper in Canada and stuff. We don't talk like that. But there was another gentleman from Australia that mentioned that's what it was, and I said maybe they're just hoping that they're gonna. We're still like 75% men, so maybe just like instead of staying at home, it's your excuse to go out in the water.
Go play with your Roger.
Go play with your Roger by yourself.
So what size board did you use? And obviously I think I saw a clip from you and it looked very windy though. And obviously that'll dictate the board. But say it was 15 knots, what board would you use?
Well, like I only have one board on my trip right now. So it's a 72 liter 23 the year 23 for KT. So drifter. So it's a little bit wider, a little bit shorter. It's 5 feet long.
Yeah. So pretty short.
And I was using a surf foil as well. So a 1230 surf foil, 60 fuse with a 210 tail.
And you couldn't, because you can't really pump them up that much or else they backstall. Is that right?
the window for pumping is smaller than the window on a wing for pumping, but you still can. Like you just need enough wind for it to be fully powered. You feel it, and then you pump, and then it does. You just pump vertically and you pump towards you, and it works. Yeah, that's the first thing I noticed.
Did you? Because I felt it on the beach. You could dive it like you do a kite. Have you tried that? Like sort of diving it, and then, but it seems that it's hard to get it to stop diving. Because you can
it doesn't generate power as much. Yeah, you can a little bit. Like you can do a power stroke with it, but that didn't seem to be as effective as just pulling the bar in towards you. Right. That seemed to be the best. But so yesterday I tried a slingshot board, and Gary's going to be upset. Don't remember the name. Here, just please hold.
Just go grab it.
It was the 70-liter Flowcraft is what I tried. It's 5'2", so it's 2 inches. It's more of like a torpedo shape. It did help me get up on foil a little bit easier yesterday when I went out, but it's just still a learning curve, right? For everybody going out, it's going to take a few sessions just to get used to pumping, get used to where to put even to hook in. Because hooking in, right, you don't have that little donkey dick thing like kiting. So it took me a session or two just to figure out how to put the kite upwind, because it has to pull you, but then not to unhook from the harness. So I got that dialed now, because normally we're used to pulling in the bar and stuff, and then that'll unhook, and then you're off to the races trying to find the thing again. But overall, I don't know. I like it. It's a pretty fun little toy. It just took me a couple sections to get used to going upwind and what to do in overpowered conditions. But once you get that dialed, it's really well manufactured, and it holds fairly stable. Like, I was quite impressed.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm most excited because we get sort of like very cross on conditions a lot of the time. And you can downwind in those conditions, but it's not fun. You're just cutting the entire time and like cutting hard. And I'm excited for it because it means you could just power out to sea. So you'd still do a car drop, but instead of the sup, you would just power out to sea like 10 Ks. And then you could downwind to your original location, like where you were going to go. So say it's 15 kilometers downwind. But now you've got the perfect angle to go with the bumps versus across them. And so you can then just surf the whole way. Whereas those conditions, you would just be pumping across to stay out to shore. Whereas now, you could just cut a mean line out to sea, be 10 Ks offshore, and then do your normal downwind run that you were going to do. But now it's fun conditions. And that's why that's what I'm planning to do. Plus, obviously, the upwind downwinder type thing. But I'm excited to try it.
What are your first impressions of the flow?
Good. It's because I watched a lot of videos from Foil Rat about the BRM and the flow, and he sort of compared the two. And it does seem that the flow holds its shape better, and it doesn't tend to collapse as much. But to be honest, I was just on the beach. It felt pretty stable. It was like 8 knots on the beach, and it was still flying pretty stable. But every now and then there was a gust, and it felt good. Like I was like, oh, it's actually got some grunt. And it's only 4.2. And so I'm just planning to use to learn. I'm approaching it like I'm learning to wing again, because I think there's going to be a learning curve, and if I don't expect it, I'm going to get pretty pissed off. So
you'll be able to pop up on your board pretty much first try. I don't foresee you having an issue with that. The body dragging out, though, if you have a little bit, because we have reef here, and it's amazing to just put your foil down and body drag over it instead of swim out. That's kind of a nice bonus, which is really cool. What else is pretty nice about it? One thing I was worried about was the sinking aspect, and this thing getting all coated in water and being super heavy. So yesterday I had a minor tangle, and then I just swam backwards, put pressure in the lines, and I was able to undo it, and I was able to just pop it out of the water even though it was partially sunk. So that was pretty cool. Now, in super light wind, you'll notice that on shore, it's flying perfectly fine, but when it gets heavier, it'll not fly as well for a second in light wind. So that kind of stuff, I realized that it was difficult to go in like next to nothing.
Yeah.
But as soon as you have your right wind window, it's I think you're gonna have a blast with it.
I think the way forward for all of these brands that are desperately trying to get their version out is just going to be to make a better range for them, because it does seem that they have a small wind window that they work in. I suppose like sea kites back in the day, they were like that, you know. It was 15 to 18 knots on your 13 meter, and if you took your 13 meter out in 19 knots, see you later. So
that was it.
Yeah. You couldn't hold on for dear life.
It depends, I think, on the size of the swell, I guess, and what you're using it for. So yesterday was more of a kite session. Like I would go down a bit and cruise around. It was just nice. It was fun to use a different weapon instead of just having my wing, because I could just relax my arms and kind of stay hooked in. But if you have some slightly bigger swell and you have the right board and obviously the right foil and you're going downwind, you could get away with a lot less wind.
Yeah.
It's more so if I'm just going across the wind and I want to kite and I want to get up, and my equipment is not ideal, but it still works. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm sort of planning to use a 7.4 board. So I don't know if, because I'll be getting up in choppy, bumpy conditions as well. That's one of the considerations. I imagine in flat water it's not that difficult. But also I think the 7.4 will allow enough wiggle room that if things change while I am offshore, because I do plan to go a fair way off, is that firstly I can paddle back if shit hits the fan, but secondly that I'll have a better wind range to be able to get up because the board's going to compensate. And yeah, and I might even take a paddle out with me, like sort of, you know, string it on my back, like some Simeon does, Voyager foiler. He used to always have it on his back. It looks cool. So I'll probably do that for the first couple as well, just to as a safety measure, because it is a bit risky.
One thing you could try too is while you're closer to shore, just have an idea of what you need to get up on foil close, and then it gives you at least a bit of time to organize that. And the other thing I was going to say, being overpowered is not necessarily a bad thing when you're flying downwind. It's only if you're trying to climb. Yeah. So one day we had a norte with some big swell, and it was gusting there was smoke on the water. And it was like, whoa. So like when it gets that windy that it gets spray and stuff, and it was blowing, it must have been close to 30, I'm assuming.
Yeah.
So I was a little worried because it was only going to be my second session on it. And I felt I got to ride up 2 kilometers up, and I was like, and then I was like, uh-oh. But then I ended up going out. Launching was a bit difficult because it was a bit squirrely, but as soon as I got going downwind, it didn't matter. When I fell and I got so overpowered, I body dragged in the water and I body dragged on my board, and it was fine. So if those kind of situations happen, like I literally let my board dangle behind me for an anchorage, and then I was just body dragging in the water with the wing and the kite in my hand. And like those kind of things. Yeah. So you have a board leash, obviously, right?
Yeah.
And then you have your harness line, and then you have your safety leash attached to your Roger.
So, because I've got one of those Cloud9 Anchormans, and I was like, I'll just use that, because that would mean then if you need to ditch it, you can just ditch it and go swim after it when you need to. But I just figured that they wouldn't go very far once they're in the water, so maybe you wouldn't even need a leash.
It depends how they projectile. If they projectile while full powered, open, that thing, because I lost a trainer kite one time, it lofted like 300 feet.
Right, okay.
Because I fell at the perfect angle and it just gone. I was like, oh shit. Yeah. Like a leash is nice. What I do to keep it out of the way though, because the first time I put the leash on my wrist and I used a wing leash, is that it got caught up in the lines. So what I did is I attached the wing leash to my waist harness. Yeah. And it's a long leash, but that was far enough away from my bar that it prevented it from getting tangled.
Yeah.
That was pretty helpful.
Don't worry. By the time this comes out, I'll have a video on YouTube I'll say everything you've just said, and I'll sound like an expert. I've stolen it all from you.
That's the way it works in this content world.
That's right.
Maybe never mind. We're going to bump up the release of your episode there, Dave West.
No, don't do that.
Next week.
I'll be irrelevant by then. Don't worry.
So it's been a while. Overall, how have you been? I can't remember when the last time you chatted.
I released, what's happened? So I released a signature model with Amos, which is like a SUP board and a downwind board, mainly aimed at beginners. And that's been really fun, trying to madly sort of shoot promo stuff for that and get out on the water. It's always tricky trying to film downwinding. It's really, really tough. It's, winging, you can at least be on the shore and just film somebody. But downwinding, you really have to be off a drone. So that's been tricky. Since we spoke, we actually ran the Sunny Coast Bump Hunters race. So that was a great success. We had about 30 of like the actual best foilers in Australia come. And we ended up with like 18 to 20 knots. It was just an absolute dream. And there was 4 of us that organized it, but I was the hype man. And it was a good time. So that was good to see. Like, this is an example, is like we just had a winging competition on the Sunny Coast and there was 8 entrants. And we had a downwinding competition and there was 30. No way. So it's interesting to see how everything's changing, because I remember when I first started downwinding, there was this particular guy who was a winger who was just like, this sport's shit. It's never going to go anywhere. And it just keeps on going. But I have been winging a fair bit lately. So I actually went out and bought a wing. First time I paid for gear in a long time, because I couldn't in good conscience ask a brand to sponsor me a wing, because I was like, you're not going to get anything out of this.
Yeah.
Whereas a para wing, I'm definitely going to use that. Yep. So I went and bought a PPC, what is it, M1L?
M1 Light?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. I have one of those.
They're good. I like it.
Yeah. They're a fun little wing.
Yeah. I like stiff wings. I like everything stiff. No.
You should switch your flow for a Roger then, bud.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's actually been fun. I went on over Christmas holidays. We had like a 25 knot session, and I was reminded about how fun winging could be. So, and it's because of this time of year in our summer, we get a lot of onshore conditions that you just can't downwind in. It's straight east, which is onshore for us. That's like 90 degrees to the coast. And so I can still go out. So I have been winging quite a lot. And I've been winging in like 8 knots a lot.
Oh, really?
I put on like a 1540S, giant foil, and like a 7.4 board, 5 meter wing. And getting up's not easy, but staying up's pretty easy. So I use it as like cross training, and I actually just like, rather than wing back up wind, I just drop the wing and pump back up wind and just like pump straight out because the wind's light enough. And that's been fun. It's actually been like a great novelty that I've been enjoying. But then every now and then, you fall and then you just can't get back up, and that's super frustrating. So
what are your first impressions of that M1 Light? Because I was talking to like the guys over there, a super nice team over, by the way, at PPC. Yeah, they're great guys. Same. And what do you think of, I got a 3 meter because that's pretty much all I ride. But yeah, what were your thoughts about it?
I liked it is a different pump than what I originally came from, which is like pretty shit wings. And so it was definitely like, you've got to be short and sharp, it felt like. And so that's been an adjustment. It smashes up wind. I'm really blown away by how well it goes up wind. And that's probably the thing I like the most, because so often when I wing, I'm actually just winging up to go downwinding or to surf. And I really want to cover ground quickly. And yeah, just the overall construction. Like, I get real funny about just how good the attachment points are for the pumps. If that's cheap, it really just puts me off. I'm just like, what a piece of shit. I remember I got these Cabrina wings. Sorry, Cabrina, but your attachment
Sorry, boys.
points are a bit shit. And like, the ones that just have like the two studs sticking out the side and then you got to stick it over the top.
Oh,
Or,
yeah.
Yeah, like they had one of those. I was just like, come on, guys, like be better. And whereas, the PPC is really nice. It's got one of those, little internal ones and it sits flush. And anytime a wing goes up to like 9 PSI, I just feel better about it. I'm like, yeah, that's a stiff wing. So they stopped going to like 10. They had ones that were like 10 and 11 PSI. Have you noticed that?
Too many blew up.
I'd say so. Too many bladders.
Maybe.
Sorry.
Maybe.
What were you going to say?
They were cutting weight through bladders, but they have a standard more so that we're used to seeing for SUP. I know F1 has those, a slightly different model, but kind of very similar to that PPC. One thing I did like about that wing was that length of that front handle and just how, if you check out those attachment points for those handles, they're on very, very stiff. It's an awesome attachment how they put that through with that bolt that kind of goes through and ties in. But I did enjoy flying that thing one-handed quite a bit, actually, just to kind of pull me over stuff. And it was a 3, mind you, so the 5's going to be a different riding style, but
I can like go through a job or attack one-handed, but I can't consistently ride one-handed. It definitely wants me to provide a little more input, and I don't know if that's just the sizing. Maybe that is because I'd love a boom, but I just I tried this wing and I liked it, so I just got one. But I'd like the boom to be able to fly one-handed because that does appeal to me. I like the idea of that, especially toe side. Because I still can't ride switch, which is one of my goals this year is to learn to ride switch.
Oh, shit. So, big steps for you.
Well, it's one of those things. If you never take it on early on, you're like, why would I? So now I'm like, shit. But you just cover so much more ground upwind when you're hillside. Like you just get way better angle. So I don't know. It's going to be – I've got the toe boogie. That's the good thing. I've got that. It doesn't have to be windy for me to learn to ride toe side. Well, switch. I can just go out on the toe boogie in a lake and just get up and just keep practicing it. So
what's a toe boogie?
You don't know what a toe boogie is?
No.
Hey, well, because it's not the Wing Life podcast anymore.
It's for laugh.
So wait, no, I can't use.
Is that some? Yeah,
it's a little jet ski, and it's got a rope attached to it. I'm holding a box of matches. Yeah. And then it's got a battery and a prop on this thing.
Oh, sure.
And then it's like a personal jet ski.
Oh, I did see one of those.
Yeah. I'll send you a video.
Sure.
They're great fun. And they're really good to be able to practice things like prone surfing, whatever you want to do, because you can sort of rinse and repeat and it's on your normal setup. It's not like, so say with a four-wheel drive, the one disadvantage is always that there's a bit of a difference in weight distribution. Whereas you could use the exact same prone board and it's just like having a jet ski driver, just drives you around.
Do you have a throttle on you or how does it speed up? And oh, you do? Oh, sick.
So you got a throttle and then it can GPS tracks you and follows you. So, the dream setup would be, a 1 kilometer point break and nobody around because you can't use it around people. And you tow yourself up, whip yourself into a wave, you ride the wave, and it will stay 50 meters behind you and just follow you.
Oh, sick.
And then meet you when you stop. So it's very clever, but the restriction is you just can't use it around people. It's just too dangerous in that sense. And it draws a lot of attention from foilers, I'm noticing. So other foilers are like, they hate it. Like, people dislike, you've probably seen that there is a group of people that dislike foil drivers. Well, toe boogie is like a whole nother level on top of that people dislike. Of hate. Yeah. Like even people that like foil drive hate toe boogie. So, and I sort of do both. And I'm like, stuff you all.
Yeah, it's all right. I guess you're trying to appease as many people as humans are funny for that.
Yeah, you can't. Like I do every single foiling discipline to some degree. And it's like people still just send me random messages like foil drives for kooks. blah, blah, blah's for kooks. And then I go on their Instagram and I'm just like, mate, you're a kook. You can't be legend when you're incompetent yourself.
Well, Foil Drive, they've done like super well. There's a bunch of companies with those built-in kind of masts now. So they're working with, I know they were working with North, and I know there's a whole bunch of others. I apologize, I don't know them, but I know that North has that integrated mast and so many others, and they've done super well. Such a nice group over there as well. I had them on early on.
Best people. Did you, because I won the Downwind race on Foil Drive.
Oh,
did you hear that? So yeah, I won $750. And it was me versus Jeremy Wilmot and Paul Cooper.
Oh, shit. Good for you.
I've told this story on their podcast, so I won't retell it, but don't leave this podcast. Stay on this podcast.
Yeah. Stay. No. You can't leave.
But yeah, I entered because I was like, I'm going for the money. And I won. So I was stoked.
$750, what currency? Australian dollars.
So what's that, like 500 Canadian?
Maybe 250 on a good. No, I don't know.
I think it's pretty bad at the moment.
Canadian dollar's getting walloped right now because of the US. The US is it's doing quite well.
You're going to be part of the USA soon anyway, aren't you?
That's what he wants.
Yeah, that's so funny.
No, it's all right. I like my
Gulf of USA, Gulf of America. That's it.
No, there's a few perks to being Canadian, and there's a few things we like, and I'm sure that's the same for everybody anyways. But anyways, we digress away from foiling.
We do.
But yeah, let me know how that first session goes when you get out in that flow. And to depower, there were some people saying that you could grab a little bit higher up in the handle and kind of try to cut it. It does start to vibrate a little bit, and it does
collapse.
It collapses a little bit. I know that the Roger and I watched that flow couple reviews, and they were saying they collapsed a little bit less. And I know the guys at Ensis, like, they are paragliders by nature. Like, a lot of those guys do that stuff out there. So if you get a company like Ozone, which does that stuff too, right? So it's just going to be a bit of a better kind of quality product, which is pretty cool. But it is a fun little weapon, and interested to see what your thoughts are going to be once you get it there.
Yeah, and obviously BRM deserve a bit of credit. You know,
it came out of the gate.
They came up with a proof of concept, and one that worked straight out the bat. You know, they've made a few adjustments since then. It was just a bit expensive for the Australians because it ended up like landing, I think, about $1,800 for us, whereas we can get, because Flow is in Australia, they're on the Gold Coast, it's like $1,200 for us. So they've run out of shipping and now. Stuff. Yeah. So and these things can't be that expensive. You know, it's some Dyneema and material. It's nothing compared to a wing. So I just hope these brands don't get greedy and start making them $1,800 as a standard, like they did with wings. Because we all remember that wings used to be pretty cheap. You know, coming from kite surfing, you were like, oh, that's cheap as, you know, $1,000, $1,200, and they would last, 6 months. But now, you can get a good wing and it'll last you 2 years because they're made much better. But some of them are like $2,500 in Australia. It's a joke. So they're a bit too expensive, in my opinion. That's why I like the PPC M1 price point. I was like, I'm happy with that. $1,500. That's sweet.
That's one thing they talked about, is they wanted a good product to put out to market that wasn't too expensive, that had some Dyneema plus Dacron to get a bit of that wingtip flex, which you're going to find in there. It handles high wind, like it is a high wind wing, and it does very, very well on that. And it's made to move around a little bit more, obviously. So I was just talking to Benjamin about that, and he was just saying he wants wings that move around more for freestyle and for those kind of applications. So they are. I've downwinded with it a bunch, and it's I had a good time.
I had a fun session downwinding, and I tried, because I normally just hold it behind, and try and let the center strut drag so that it stays low. But I just found if I just front handle, it would just sit above my head. Your arm gets a little bit sore, but I found that to be the best way to downwind with it, because this so often you just can't cut the right angle. Because I downwind so much with the paddle, you learn what's the most efficient way to go. And so often the wing stops you from being able to go the most efficient way. And that's why you have to sort of save yourself. And that's why you don't see many SUP downwinders encouraging people to learn on a wing. And that's for that reason, is that it does limit your choices. And that's why I think the para wing is going to be great for people to properly learn to downwind. Because, you know, you might do a 500 meter run and you can get away with making inefficient choices for 500 meters. But when you do 30 kilometers, you can't, whereas you'll tax out, your legs will be dead. And the para wing is going to be interesting to see people, because, yeah, you just stick it under your arm, your little rugby ball, and off you go. So I do want to see some sort of like pack down bag, right? So it's like a baby in a manger. And you stick it in the bag, and then there's like a little pump or something, and you can compress it on the fly. So you could, little sling, you sort of, it's really big and open, and you boom.
You mean you want a Roger pump?
I want a Roger pump. That's right. I want to squish the shit out of my Roger. I want to just squeeze the life out of it, and then
that makes sense though.
Fling it over your back.
A lot smaller of a package when you're going down. Yeah. I get that. Compression set.
I've been told I've got a small package before. No.
Yeah. Oh. Well, you're married, right? It's okay. Doesn't matter.
It's cold in Queensland.
It's cold in Mexico, man. I have a sweater on right now. I'm freezing.
I want someone to invent that, because I'm not going to. So maybe I'll just look up a compression sack. Maybe, you get those little electric vacuum sealers. You could just have one of those. And it's done. Throw it on your back. That
would be cool, because they would make it a lot. Yeah, it would make it a ton smaller. So what do you do in that situation? Like when you fall off, I'm assuming you're not going to fall off foil for at least a while, right?
Yeah. So, well, and I rarely fall. So I suppose it's the same as SUP downwinding. There's a consequence. But yeah, I would, I do 15 to 17 kilometer runs all the time and never fall. It's pretty regular. It never used to be. But now, like it's very rare that I fall more than once. Like if I fall once, that's a bad run. Like that annoys me. So it's generally one paddle up, maybe two if your legs are you're not warmed up, and then you're up and you stay up for the whole time. So
the one nice thing about this is that you can, if you just want to go for a cruise, like you can kite down with it, but you're not going to have that same feel as obviously if you're just using it to get up when you need to. But that was one thing I was enjoying with it, is just downwinding with that and just pulling me along, which is pretty cool. So I don't know. We're going to see what happens, and we're going to see how people react to it, and just obviously try to keep your upper body as relaxed as you can be, because it does pull if it's at the higher end wind range. Just be careful that you don't. Yeah, here it is.
It's definitely not an issue,
because she pulls. It's definitely a truck.
And are you mainly, if you're not hooked in, are you mainly just riding one-handed, or are you sort of two hands?
So the first time I rode away Overpowered, I needed two hands to be able to hold on to the thing, because I was lit. But when I'm hooked in, it's one-handed. Yeah, and I have a sliding, like I have Gary Siskar there got us some ride engine wing harnesses. Yeah, and it has a sliding hook on it, which is pretty important, because anybody who knows how to kite will know that they want, like if you're riding, you don't want to have the hook just stationary.
Yeah, because especially when you're toe side, it's horrible. It's going to
kill you. So this thing is awesome, and I just took like a windsurfing mono line, and it works well. So,
and so you've just got just the same loop that you would use on a wing, just attached to the handle. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I can show you if you want.
Yeah, show us.
Yeah, it's right here.
Ding, 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 ding. This is the elevator music while people wait.
All right, so it's all tangled up a bit here.
Oh, geez. And that's my other question is, how the hell do you pack them down?
I didn't pack it down properly. So here's the monoline. So here, let me see if I can move this right like this. There you go. So it's just a windsurfing monoline. That's all it is. And it's an old, right? And so you put it closer to the top of the handle.
Okay.
That's what you kind of need. And it sits about here to here. When it's that high, you can kind of just put your hand on it and it's no big deal.
So rather than say this is your whole bar, you don't want to loop like that. You know, want it like the traditional one on a wing that goes between the two handles, because it won't be balanced, will it?
Here, that's a bit better.
Yeah.
All right. So, yeah, like this is all I did. And some of them, no, you don't need to. Like right here is ideal for this wing, for this kite here.
Okay.
And then all I would do is put the hand on top and then hold it. And these guys have a built-in safety. So that's where I hook up my leash to it. So it hooks up to the B lines. So,
which is that makes sense.
Yeah. And then stowing it and stuff, relaunching was actually a lot easier than I thought, to be honest. The only thing what happens that I find I'm having a hard time with is you have to master the art of pulling that thing into you. Yeah. And then not allowing it to go into a bit of a squirrely spin Yeah.
Because even on the beach, I would pull my hand up the lines, which is harder than it looks. And then while I'm doing that, it's trying to spin on me, which then means that if you don't get it in time, it's spun like 3 times. And then when you throw it, it wants to unspin.
It goes into a mini death loop. Yeah.
Yeah. Which should be fun in 30 knots.
So what I found is there are like obviously 3 sets of lines off this bar. And what I do is I don't pull on the safety line, but there's another line inside that I pull on, and then the whole thing just collapses.
Right.
So that I find easier. And then it's all about pulling it in though, but I think I have to pull in a bit higher onto it so I can grab some of the canopy material.
Yeah.
And then it's less likely to be able to spin, but I'm still practicing that. But the release aspect of it is actually a lot easier than I thought. I thought it would get tangled or whatever, but it's pretty actually quite designed well. I've seen BRMs. That's all that's popular here in Mexico. It's just nothing but BRMs. I think there's 4 guys that ride it.
And assumedly, the best way to deploy would be to be cutting crosswind. You don't want to do it. You don't want to deploy downwind. So
they're so light that it doesn't really matter.
Right. Okay. It's not like it's
you could throw it out.
Stall.
Yeah, you could throw it out, and if it starts to stall a bit, you just cut up wind for a second, and then like that's the nice thing about them is sometimes I don't even pull it into me. I allow it to back stall and fall out of the sky, and then I can just hold it up like this. Because they're so light. It's if you only have it for 3-4 second downwind, well, it doesn't matter. But it all depends what your conditions are like for that day.
I just think about traveling, like you're going on a trip with your missus or something, you could just stash it. You know, you could take a board and some foils and 2 of these things, and they take up no room. No pump needed. It's pretty handy for travel. So
that's true.
That's going to be
definitely. No, I had enjoying it. I'm going to go out tomorrow with it. We had way too much wind today, so I would have just gotten destroyed.
You poor thing.
I know. It's just been every day out here, you know?
Right.
But other than that, it's a fun toy.
Did you see the conditions in Sydney before the Sydney race? It was like 50 knots. It was insane. They had 6 to 8 foot swell, and my flight got changed, so I couldn't go on this run. And I'm actually glad I didn't, because they said it's like downwinding you've never seen before. You couldn't turn because the wind was so strong; it would just turn you back, or it would blow you off your board. And like guys set record speeds that they've never done. And there was the Coast Guard got called like 3 times. It was just an absolute mayhem. And like you wouldn't be able to use it. Like it was unwingable. You'd have to be on a 1.5 meter or something. Be sort of like Hood River conditions. But are you going to go to AWSI?
Yeah.
Do you reckon you'll make it?
Yeah.
Oh, cool. I think I'm going with the code team. Oh, that was the other thing I forgot to mention.
Oh, sick.
Was that on the last podcast, because of the time change between us recording it and release, I changed foil team. So many people were confused when it came out. They were like, you ride for Axis or for code? because it was like around the same time. So,
Yeah.
but yeah, I'll be with Code, and then I'll be sort of hanging out with the 4-wheel drive guys as well.
Oh, sick.
So yeah.
Yeah, we're going to try to fly Frank out.
Yeah.
And I'm going to try to get my brother out. And yeah, there'll be at least 2 of us, hopefully. I want a car for Mexico for next winter. It'll be a little easier to get groceries and stuff.
Yeah.
So I'll be driving there with all my gear next year, sorry. So it'll be fun to windsurf and
it's a big drive,
hatchery and stuff. Yeah. It's about it's 4,000 something to get out to the West Coast.
Woo. Damn.
Yeah. And then from there down to Hood, it's about 7 hours, but then it's another 2,000 or so to get down to Mexico from there.
That's a long way.
Yeah.
A long way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we'll have to see how that goes.
I'm doing a few trips this year. I'm doing Hawaii again. So I'll do M2O, M2M, and Padalamua.
Oh, sick.
And then,
good for you.
AWSI, and then Perth Race Week, which is where we go to WA, and it's all just downwinding for a week. I think with great white sharks. It's great fun.
Oh, sure. Have you seen one yet?
No, but a buddy of mine hit a shark the other day, or the shark hit him, who knows, and it split his mast down the middle, as in like, boop. So he came in and he was like, man, there's something wrong with my foil. And it like would just go wiggle, wiggle, wiggle. The whole thing was just wiggling. It was amazing that he stayed on foil.
That is amazing.
Because we've had these sort of like bait balls and sharks just going crazy lately. So we must have come through shortly after, and somebody just whacked his foil. And he fell, but then he managed to paddle back up, which was the impressive bit on a wobbly ass foil. So
that's impressive.
But yeah, so
have you gotten out quite a bit this year so far?
Yeah, it's this is our really bad season. This is sort of as bad as it gets because the waves are shit, the wind's shit. There's jellyfish everywhere. So I've got, you can't see it. I got done by a blue bottle. Do you get those in Mexico?
I think there's some here, yeah.
Like Portuguese men of war.
Yeah.
So in onshore conditions, they're just everywhere. And then what was the other thing? But yeah, it's just crap conditions. You've sort of got to make the best of it, which is why I've been light wind winging and doing stuff. But
apparently everybody's upset. It makes sense, right? You sell yourself as the master of downwind, and then you cheat on it with a wing.
That's right. Yeah, I just couldn't believe how many people were just so shocked. They're like, oh, there was actually people that didn't even think I could wing. I was
That's what I was thinking.
I started on wing. I send them like videos of me doing butter slides and shit. I was like, take that. I don't do the stuff I used to be able to do because it breaks gear. Like butter slides are so bad for foils. They absolutely wreck foils. And I just can't be bothered dealing with that. And then, the knees and the body. So, but I pumped around for 20 minutes off one wave this morning, prone surfing. So that's the sort of stuff I'm doing at the moment. You got to make the best of the conditions. I did tell you that I tried to spearfish off a foil today.
Yeah, that was this morning, right? You went out?
Yeah. Yeah, it was a total failure. I'll have a YouTube video up by the time this comes out.
All right. Send it over.
It took me ages. I planned everything. I packed the car. So I put all the gear inside the tow boogie because it's got like a air compartment.
That's how you're going to do it.
Yeah. So I put everything inside, and then the only thing I had to hold on to was the spear gun. So I got a spear gun, and then I've got the handle, like the wakeboard handle. And then I'm controlling as well. And so then I just sort of went out about a kilometer, and then I put my goggles on, I put my head in the water, and it was just dog shit dirty. I was like, And so then I had to come back, and that was it. That was the whole video. So it was very disappointing.
I thought you were going to troll like with fishing line.
Oh, no. I've done that before on a flight board. I went around on a flight board with just like a trolling lure, but we even saw fish and they weren't interested. And I think because you're going a little bit too fast. Like you can't really drop below, 16, 17 kilometers an hour. And they want it at like 10. So they're just like, whoa, there goes that lure. But Jesus, that's going to take a big effort to get to. Nah, don't worry about it.
It's too
So,
fast, Betsy. You gotta slow that thing down. Oh, that's interesting. Actually, that's what I didn't realize you were going spearfishing. Three thoughts at the
yeah,
same time. But yeah, okay.
I used to be quite a decent spearo. That's where the foil lord thing came from. It was actually spear lord. And so there are people that are like, oh, you're not the OG foil lord. I'm like, yes, I am, because I'm the OG spear lord. And I had a brand that was spear lord when I was a spearfisher. And then I just changed it to foil lord when I started foiling because I thought it was funny. And yeah, yeah.
All right,
I am the OG foil lord, and Oscar Johansson knows it. So
you heard that on the Foil Life podcast, brought
That's
to you
right.
by
Wing Life podcast.
We are looking forward to Florida. I think it's going to be pretty cool to meet so many different people in the foiling disciplines and to meet Brian as well and his team. Have you heard a lot about the FSRL and what they do over there?
I watched, if it's the one I'm thinking of, it's the one where they sort of do a beach race around the buoys.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, I actually could have gone this year, but I've got one work engagement that I have to go to. And so I couldn't go, and it was right smack bang in the middle. But I want to run something similar here because I do like that format. And really, I just want any excuse to run an event and to get people together, because I think foilers are so excited when you run an event. They're so appreciative.
You should talk to Brian about it, because I know he was looking at expanding, and awesome guy, awesome team. So you never know. Put you guys together.
It's just a lot of work, like because Josh Koo ran the Sydney race that we just did, and then I ran the Sunny Coast race with the boys. And I just remember finishing and just being like, holy shit, like I'm so tired. Because it's such a mental overload. You're worrying about the forecast. You're worrying about people. You want them to have a good time. You know, you're facilitating 30 people that could be doing something more interesting with their lives. And you want to make sure they have a good experience. And some people had paid $1,000 to get here. We had people from New Zealand come. And so I want to run more events, but I'm probably going to cap myself at just 2 per year. And so I think we'll do that. And then I want to just do like a dock start event, because they're easy to run. They're so easy to run. and it's what's happening at the moment is you've sort of got the downwind people, and they're over here. And then you've got the wing people, and they're over here. And then you've got the prone surfers. And they very rarely come together. But dock starting, surprisingly, sort of brings them all together, because almost everyone can have a crack, and they all know how to pump. So they might not know how to dock start, but usually by the end of the day, they can. And the last one we ran, we had like 50 people at it. I called it Pump Fest, right on the penis analogies. And yeah, we had like 50 people enter, and we made like a little sprint course and stuff. And you hear all the feedback from AWSI and stuff. It's always the gimmicky, fun little races that get put on that people actually get really stoked out on. And because they're inclusive as well. You know, you can have any Joe Blow enter. So I'm going to run one of those again when it's a bit colder and when there's less bull sharks. Because at the moment, the bull sharks hang out in the lakes because the water's so warm. So we might wait until they.
Those are the worst, though, aren't they? Yeah, the bull sharks, I think, are the most aggressive ones.
Yeah, and they're the ones that are a bit stupid, so they'll just bite things because they're like, this could be a tree. Who knows? I'll just bite it. Yeah, I don't like bull sharks. I don't like sharks in general, actually. These people that are like, there was somebody. There's a video. Remember, I said earlier that there's been a lot of shark action off the Sunny Coast, and somebody commented on it, and they're like, "Save the sharks! They're all endangered." I'm like, they're not endangered in Australia. We have shitloads of sharks. Like, they are in plague proportions. So the sharks can.
It's because all the countries from the north brought all their inmates there, and they planted all the sharks in that area, and they said stay there, and they populated. That's right. Why. You guys have like 25 of the dangerous creatures, and it was just to keep the inmates from spreading, I think.
We are going to diverge from foiling for a second, but Canada and the USA and Alaska, you have moose, you have bears, you have
Yep.
lions, you have
Yep.
little lions, you have
Yep.
angry dogs. What are they called? Coyotes.
Yep.
You've got vultures, eagles, wolves. Fuck, I forgot about wolves. You got giant ass walruses that'll roll on you. And then all we've got is these little fucking spiders and snakes, and everyone freaks out. I'm like,
It's
the
true.
US and Canada is way scarier. Like, I'm more scared of your bushland than my bushland by a country mile. There is nothing in Australia on land that can get close to eating me, even close. There's nothing.
Okay.
Whereas you have like 6 options.
We got a bunch. My brother and I went camping on Vancouver Island, like our home spots, and we went maybe a kilometer up from where we would normally go kiting and windsurfing and stuff. And we were hanging out at this spot. We had our fire going, and we heard like a 6-year-old girl scream very loud in the middle of the night, 10 feet behind us in the woods. Obviously a mountain lion, right? And it was the scariest thing we'd ever heard. We hop in the canoe, shine the light, stoke the fire, throw rocks around and stuff. Neither of us slept a wink until the sun came up. So you get used to that stuff out there, and you get a bit of it. That's what your adrenaline hit is, right? Because you get too comfortable being safe inside. Yeah. Just head out to, because I think Vancouver Island has the highest proportion of mountain lions, I don't know, in North America. Don't quote me on that, but look it up. Anyways, we have so many up there that they'll snag little dogs. And yeah, so that we've had 2 of those instances where I'm sleeping in a tent. And
wow. Well, and like I see the videos online of people, it's usually black bears, because obviously you guys are less scared of black bears.
They're chill. Yeah.
And people just like the black bear on their porch, and they're just like, fuck off, go away.
You do.
And it's just like, man, yeah, there's the only dangerous thing would be to baby children, like baby children, would be dingoes. And every now and again, like a baby gets bitten or something on Fraser Island, which is just full of dingoes. But yeah, there's actually nothing. An adult cannot get killed by anything other than a snake and a spider.
It's the marketing, I guess it's just the marketing of it.
Bullshit marketing. Like, obviously the ocean, it's got some friendly critters in it, but you guys have killer whales. You got all sorts. You got everyone's got great whites, pretty much everyone except for the tropics. So it's really quite safe here, like very safe. But anyway,
good to know. It's still on my list to go to.
You should
come and visit. Yeah. I think that'd be fun. I'll bring my wing and my Roger, and I'll be all set.
I imagine it's probably not dissimilar to Mexico weather in a way. Certain spots, especially Perth.
The weather here, you get used to it, and then it is colder now. Like January, February, it does definitely drop off at night, 10, 12, 13, 14 degrees. But it's not. But the day is quite warm. So you can't complain.
Well, because Perth is like that, because it's desert, they get the crazy winds during the day, but then it will drop to like 0 overnight, but it'll be 27 during the day. But that's why they get the sea breeze, because it's actually fairly far south for south being cold, just so you know, because I know you think north is cold, but south cold. Because I always get confused when Americans say like, oh, I'm going up to the north, it's going to be freezing. I'm like, what? That's hot. Because for us, north is hot. Fair. So south is cold. But, it's the Tasman Sea, and then you've got a boiling hot desert. And so that's why Perth is so windy all the time, because it's, desert essentially. But great winging spot. Great for parawinging. So
you're going to have to let me know how that goes. And when's your first session, do you think?
I'm hoping Friday or Saturday, because we got a big southerly coming, and the first day of it is actually on shore. So it'd be a great test, my theory. See how that goes. So I'll record the whole thing. I'm going to try and get footage of everything, and then put together a big YouTube video because the guys at Flow sent me it, and so I want to help promote their wing, but also
Definitely
learn the damn sport. So
how's the family? And you were into real estate, right? How's that going for you?
slowly, because I've been doing so much foiling. So family's good. Been sort of trying to get my first few sales, because essentially the reason I want to go into real estate is because I will have more freedom to actually go to events. Because at the moment I have the time, I have the money, I could go to lots of events, but there's always a freaking wedding smack bang in the middle of the trip. And canceling a wedding is so expensive. And so it's been very restrictive. Even though it gives me so much freedom midweek, it means that every single weekend I'm tied up, and every single event like I could have gone to Barcelona last year. I had one wedding and I couldn't go. So I'm getting offers from the brands that I work with to go and be at these events, and to hang out with my friends. That's what I want to do.
Yeah.
Because I've got so many friends now scattered over the world. Like I'd love to go to Netherlands and see John Mann, and go to Hawaii more than once a year. So the idea is, I could just work my ass off for 8 months of the year, sell a shit ton of houses, and then pick the weekends and be able to go on these trips. So that's the goal. But I've been enjoying. The kids have just gone back to school yesterday. And so I've just been enjoying hanging out with the kids, and that's been really fun. So, because at the end of the day, people forget. Some guy messaged me on Instagram, and he's just like, "Oh, so do you just like travel around and foil?" I was like, "No, mate. Like, I'm a father of 3. I've got like responsibilities." And I get quite annoyed at this whole, people often just think, say for downwinding or learning to downwind, they're like, "Oh, it came easy to you because you're an athlete." I'm like, I'm not a fucking athlete. I literally have just had a lot of time and foiled my ass off for 3 to 4 years. I have come from no athletic background. I've got bugger all talent, and it's just been time on water. It's the 10,000 rule thing. And I've got all the responsibilities. Like a buddy of mine, he's training for Hawaii with me, and he doesn't have any kids. So if he needs to sleep more like you do, you just sleep more. I don't get that option. Like, I'm up at 5:30 or 6 no matter what. And so I reject this premise that I'm
think
talented.
of the motivation of, you have your beautiful wife sitting there and a nice little sundress, and your kids. We don't have that motivation, like once you ride for yourself for all those years, you're like, ride for myself again.
The only positive thing is that my kids like watching my YouTube channel for some reason. They think it's awesome seeing dad on the TV. So, and my wife's learned over the years that when I make a video, she will sit down and watch it with me. She's very nice.
That's very nice of her.
It's like, if I vanished for 5 to 6 hours editing and then I emerge, back in the day at the beginning of our marriage, I used to put all this effort into an edit, and then I'd come out and watch it, and she'd be like, "Oh yeah, I'll watch it." And then she'd be on her phone, look up on her phone. And I'd be like, "Oh no." So now she knows. She sits and she watches it, and now she'll ask, she'll be like, "Can I watch your YouTube video?" I'm like, "Yeah, sure. Of course." By that point, I'm sick of it because I've been editing it.
Is that authentic?
She's a great wife.
That's very nice to hear. See, think of all that motivation. There's nothing better than winning for your kids, right?
There's no motivation from my children to win. It's all actually, it'd be easier if I just stayed at home and didn't go on the race. That's usually the way. So
how old are they now?
That'd be great. We got an almost 7-year-old, 6-year-old, and almost 4-year-old. So
yeah, they'll be close following you behind. Get out there.
My hope, this is a selfish hope, is so our youngest, because it's just her at home now, because the kids are at school, my wife will be able to film me foiling more. Yes. Because that's what she wants to do with her time.
Wow.
She doesn't work. She's a stay-at-home mum, which is a shit job. It's not an easy job. It's a lot of
responsibility.
Well, and it's what gives me my freedom. That's what for all the men out there that want more freedom, get your wife not to work, and then it's not a big deal when you go away for 3 days. She's like, yeah, sweet. She's like,
because
no
you're
worries.
around all.
Yeah, I'm around all the time.
That's
She's
true.
like, yeah, because everybody always, my inner circle jokes about how I can essentially do whatever I want, but it's like, yeah, but that's because 28 days out of 30 of the month, I'm home helping her. So then if I vanish for 2 days, she's not like at her limit. Whereas so many of my friends, their wives work full time and they do most of the child rearing. Then you want to go on a boys' golf trip? No chance. So
that's true.
Got to find the right woman and then make her not work.
Nothing wrong with that.
Get to it.
All right.
Find some Mexican lady. Probably some hot Mexican chicks down there, surely.
There are some. We'll talk about that after. Eh?
He's embarrassed.
But anyways, so yeah, I'm gonna hopefully get out and play with this pair wing again tomorrow, and see how that goes. Anyways, I'm looking forward to seeing that video because this is gonna come out after it. Looking forward to seeing that. Hey, it'd be super sweet to meet you guys in AWSI as well. Yeah. That would be fun.
Yeah. I'll be there.
And I want to talk to the guys at Foil Drive again, have them back on. It's been a while now, so that'd be sick to talk to them.
They've got some cool stuff coming, so probably not bad timing.
Mm-hmm.
Hit up, Ben or Caitlin or Paul or whoever. Dom's just launched the Europe, Foil Drive Europe.
Yeah, so he was on that episode with Ben a while ago.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so
get Dom on. Dom's such a good guy.
Yeah, he is a friendly fella.
They're all nice. They're all legends. I love working with those guys.
Well, man, anything else you wanted to touch on for our folks all over the world that, you know what? You can do your little shaker thing and just say that I love winging.
I love my 3-meter Roger. It's so stiff and lovely. It's got pink lines. I don't know.
It does. No, blue lines. I was more so going to the winging so we can make a reel out of this, but we could have a reel of you winging. Yeah.
I haven't got any winging footage lately.
No.
Every time I try, but I haven't got any. I'm sorry. I've only got really old stuff. I can send you old stuff. Me on like aluminium masts back in the day. Oh, well, no, I'll have some by then. I'll send you some by then.
All right.
If you give me a couple of weeks, I'll send you some.
Yeah, we got 3 or 4, I think.
Yeah, sweet. We'll be all right. I'll send you some of me doing a back mob on a Parawing. No. It's not going to happen.
With the 7.4, by the time you get around, that thing's going to be peaking.
No, the board just stays. I do the flip. The board
you
stays.
do the flip.
Yeah.
All right.
Just
that's what you could do. You could do freestyle strapless pirouetting and dancing with.
There's already so much weird Gumby stuff going on in winging that we don't need more.
Why not? That would be like you could do an around the world, but just around the world yourself on your board and do that like 360 board stay still.
Little pirouette with a Parawing.
All right, everybody, let's end on this note. All right, thanks, bud. We'll see you. We'll see you soon. Actually, looking forward to it.
I'm just gonna warn you that I'm like this in real life. This is not put on.
Yeah, that's fine. That's
I'm
fine.
A menace.
That's great. You're gonna help soften our German team.
Oh yeah, I'm not. Yeah, das ist gut. Yeah, you're very little too hooty tooty.
Their food though. You know what? That's why their cars don't fall apart, man.
You love a good sausage. You love a good sausage.
Let me play with my Roger in peace. All right, everybody. We will see you guys all on the next one.